With Alpesh Patel, who joins us from India, Chief Executive of the investment company Profinium Partners, and someone who has been involved in UK-India trade talks. Alpesh, lovely to see you. So this now is incredible timing, really, isn't it, for EU and India? You can imagine from the EU's perspective, it is keen to see this deal done, I assume.
Well, you know, Sally, it's said that trade is war by other means, and we're really seeing that on the world stage now. Let me give you some perspective on how big and also at the same time how slow and small this is as well. If you take the EU and India together, that's a quarter of the world's GDP and a third of the world's population. That makes it incredibly important. However, EU plus India plus UK only equals the size of the United States, which again puts it into perspective why the US is such a major player. I'll give you one more statistic on this point as well. For India, this would mean GDP increase of about 1.3% if it went through. For the EU, 0.14%. You might think, well, surely it's not that important for the EU. Actually, it means about $20 billion for each economy. It's as much about security and EU foreign policy and tying up with another major democracy and being a counterbalance to China as it is about trade, growth and jobs. But you're right, it's absolutely timely given the ever-increasing rise of China and given what's happening in the US as well.
So what will we see in a deal, assuming a deal is done? I know we've mentioned for Europe, they are really looking for tariffs on their goods to be reduced. What is India looking for? I know it's got its pharmaceuticals goods and various other goods that it's keen to have more access for in the European market. Your thoughts?
Well, 2 points on this. First of all, they started negotiating in 2007. Since then, India has sent a mission to Mars and back. Okay, so don't hold your breath on this happening anytime soon because it has to be ratified by 27 EU nations. The major areas are automobiles. Europe wants to send more to India. India wants to protect its own nascent economy. Agriculture. EU agricultural goods are heavily subsidized, as we know. The Indians complain about that. And of course, the agricultural lobby in India is immensely powerful, and they won't want to disrupt that because this is politics and social policy as well as economics. Technology. India is a huge tech hub. I was in Mumbai. I'm now in Hyderabad. It's massive, as we all know. So those are non-trade barriers, and those are just as important as tariff numbers we talk about. Non-trade barriers are a major problem because GDPR and those kind of regulations put a hamper on bilateral trade. The EU will want to stick to those. Same with environmental non-trade barriers. The EU will say, well, wait a minute, you're producing a lot of carbon. We need those regulations more stringent. Indians will say, hang on, we're a growing economy. We're not as rich as you. We're bigger than every single EU nation other than Germany, but we're not as rich as you overall. So those non-trade barriers, those regulations which the EU rightly, you can imagine from their perspective, want, including supply chain assurances on tax for foreign investment from the EU into India, stability on that. The Indians would say, well, wait a minute, we can't just throw out our own regulations. It's complicated, and then you've got 27 economies in between there. The UK will sign an FTA before the EU does.
Okay. Well, we will hold our breath regardless, Alpesh. And thank you. He's gone already. Thanks to Alpesh Patel there from Profinium Partners. As ever, the devil is in the detail around the world and across the